Hello and welcome back, or welcome to the mykeadelic channel. I'm your host, mykeadelic, aka Mike, and today we're going to be talking about Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. I am very excited to be talking about this film. If you couldn't tell, if you haven't checked it out, I had a previous video talking about all of Rian Johnson's films up until Glass Onion, so I was really anticipating the release of this on Netflix because I missed the short theatrical release. And yeah, I am just super excited to talk about this film, so I guess we'll get right into it. Also, I apologize. This video is going to be later than usual. I've been trying to upload stuff at 5 p.m. Been doing that for the last couple of weeks, but alas, had a busy weekend. So it's almost 5 o'clock as I'm filming this. So it'll be a little late, but I am going to cut this and drop this today because I just love Glass Onion and gotta get the thoughts out. So let's talk about Glass Onion. First, we're gonna talk about it spoiler free, and then I'll get into spoilers and I'll show when I was filming or when I was watching it. Watched it twice. Kind of watched it 2.5 times. I fell asleep. I was very sleepy. I literally finished it and was like, I'm gonna watch it again, but I was too sleepy. So then I watched it again later, when I wasn't too sleepy. And yeah, the rewatch value is tremendous, especially in the beginning. There's so many things that we'll get into that in the spoiler section. Let's just talk about Glass Onion. Glass Onion is a second Knives Out mystery, the first Knives Out mystery being Knives Out, which, just to restate what's been said in a bunch of press interviews and things like that, Knives Out is a bit more classic whodunit, a bit more English vibe, but since it's American, it's a New England vibe, a lot of browns, a lot of oranges, kind of color scheme that's very warm and fall, Thanksgiving vibes. This time, the color scheme is a lot more blues and yellows, hence the lighting. Oh, one of these is red, whatever. And the film itself is a lot more lighter in tone, I feel. I mean, obviously, it still gets heavy and dramatic and things like that, but to me, the beginning felt like a comedy. And Rian Johnson himself said if it's any genre, it's kind of mostly a comedic satire. On top of the obvious mystery. And I think that really worked in its favor to distinguish itself as its own film from the first film in the franchise, Knives Out, which was really good. But drawing off of the kind of Agatha Christie influence, she always switched it up per location. And so obviously that's what Rian Johnson's doing. And if you check out some interviews, you'll hear him say this and a lot of these kind of sentiments. So let's talk about Glass Onion. I'm going to do a quick kind of like spoiler-free plot breakdown and a little touching on characters, and we'll use that to kind of transition into the spoiler section and talk more about the characters and the plot. So basically, there's a group of these, they're called the disruptors, these kind of, for lack of a better term, terrible people, terrible rich people. They all get invited by another terrible rich person, Miles Braun, played by Edward Norton, and he's a billionaire co-founder of a Manhattan technology company called Alpha, which is this huge tech company, kind of like a Tesla or an Apple or a Google or an Amazon, you name it, all of the above. And there's some references in the costuming as to kind of things like that, but we'll get into that later. I really like the costumes in this. The costume department crushed it. All the departments crushed it. Back to the plot. So yeah, it's during COVID. It's very aware of COVID. I thought that was really interesting because a lot of the times people try to pretend it's not COVID. You could just tell it's a COVID film because it's so small budget and stuff. And they were just like, whatever, it's COVID. This is when it happened. And it's like a kind of rich people on an island thing, and it totally could happen. As far as these characters, obviously we got Miles Braun, Ed Norton, who's kind of the head of the pack, who invites all the friends and owns this private island in Greece, which is just awesome setting. Beautiful landscape and everything. A lot of outdoor stuff. But yeah, he invites his friends, Alpha head scientist Lionel Toussaint, who's played by Leslie Odom Jr. Who else we got? Birdie J, Kate Hudson, who is phenomenal in this. A former supermodel turned fashion designer in Manhattan. Dave Bautista as Duke Cody, a streamer and men's right activist. And he's dating Madeline Klein, Whiskey. And she's like kind of like his assistant. And then, of course, with Kate Hudson, we have Jessica Henwick playing Peg, who she was so funny to me. Madeline Klein and Jessica Henwick, I feel like, could have had a little, like, assistants, or, like, you know, like, kind of the overlooked members of this group. I'll get into these thoughts later. Back to no spoiler zone. Let's see. We got Lionel, Birdie J, Duke, and Catherine Hahn. Yes, Claire DeBella, governor of Connecticut, now running for the Senate. And so the way we're introduced to these characters is like funny and also just says so much that will probably go over your head first viewing, but just know there's like not a wasted word. If it's not a joke, it's a setup essentially, which is just remarkable. I got some great cameos as well. I'll talk about those. I guess I really just want to talk about everything in the spoiler section. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, we got Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc. Tremendous talent, tremendous character, and tremendously fashionable. The way the mystery unfurls itself, the kind of pacing of it, was really interesting. On my second viewing, I felt maybe it was a little slow once I kind of knew what was happening, more so in the second act, but it honestly was so enjoyable that it was like, I could see this being a movie I just put on all the time because it's just such a vibe. And of course, yeah, so I'm going to talk about the cameos because I don't think it's really spoiling anything because they talk about them in other areas. This is going to be a mess to edit. I'm so scatterbrained right now. Let's talk about the cameos. Let's talk about our Rian Johnson regulars first. So I didn't really talk about him in my Rian Johnson overview, but Noah Segan is another constant in all of Rian Johnson's films. He was, I forgot his name, Blue, or like the tough kind of guy with the beanie and Brick. He was in Brothers Bloom as well. I think he goes make room for the Brothers Bloom when they're at the bar. I could be wrong. Yeah, so he's always kind of like cameoing in all this stuff. And he was Trooper Wagner in the first Knives Out. And he plays like a dudeish, just like slacker guy who's like kind of just like in the background. And I thought that was really funny. I actually didn't recognize that it was Noah Segan the first time I watched it. And then I was like, oh, wow, that's him. Like, it gave me an extra appreciation because at first I was like, oh, whatever, it's like a joke character. But knowing it was him, I was like, wow, he really like became this like dude-esque kind of character that did not look like any of the characters I'd ever seen him play before. So I thought that was really funny. Obviously, he was in Looper too. Then, of course, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's always got a cameo. He had a voice cameo in the first Knives Out, and he had a voice cameo in this one too. He was the hourly dong, in case you couldn't tell if you've seen it already. And that was really funny. I didn't even notice it was him. And then I was listening to interviews and stuff, and I was like, oh, of course he was the hourly dong. That's so funny. And the joke that they said is composed by Philip Glass. Glass, come on. Just love it. He's a real composer, for those who didn't know. And then the celebrity cameos, too, kind of appearing as themselves. You have Stephen Sondheim, who was a big influence on Rian Johnson. He talks about that a lot in interviews, as well as Angela Lansbury, who was in a lot of these Agatha Christie kind of stuff. And, like, obviously, Murder, She Wrote. Natasha Lyonne, who's going to be in Poker Face, so she was playing herself. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I mean, he's just cool, I guess. Yo-Yo Ma had a funny cameo, and I didn't realize it was him because I didn't recognize him without a cello, and then I was like, oh, of course it's Yo-Yo Ma, because he's kind of dropping some musical information. We got Jake Tapper, news host, and Serena Williams has a great cameo, too, where she's reading Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow, which is hilarious because, of course, that's referenced in the first film as well. And, oh yeah, sad to say, Sondheim and Lansbury both died before Glass Onion was released, and the film is dedicated to both of them. But on a funnier note, Jared Leto has a hard kombucha, and Jeremy Renner has a hot sauce, like fake products that are in that world. And that was also really funny. And also both totally crucial to the plot. Kind of a little bit of behind the scenes before I guess we get into spoilers. Knives Out, the first one was super successful. Rian Johnson kind of had an idea about a sequel with the same guy. Not really like explicit about exactly what, but just the idea kind of like the Agatha Christie style, almost anthology with the same detective. The sequel was officially greenlit by Lionsgate in early 2020. In March 2021, Netflix outbid Amazon and Apple at an auction to acquire the rights to the film and another sequel to Knives Out for $469 million, with Johnson returning as director and Craig returning as Blanc, and a budget of at least $40 million for the first installment. Johnson, Craig, and producer Ram Bergman reportedly earned more than $100 million for both productions. Losing bidder called it inexplicable and a mind-boggling deal. So Netflix really hooked them up and let them do whatever they want. And Craig worked with a dialect coach to regain familiarity with Blanc's southern accent. Johnson previously considered having Blanc speak with an inexplicably different accent in each film. That's kind of funny. Really obvious that with the Agatha Christie references that it's a total step in a different direction than the previous film. It's more of a tropical getaway murder mystery like Evil Under the Sun or The Last of Sheila. It's got a little bit of that big chill vibe with the group of friends or frenemies, or like an eroding friend group kind of, rather than a family, more like a chosen family kind of situation. He wanted the title to refer to something hidden in plain sight. He chose glass because it's clear, looked on his phone for songs with the word, and he found Glass Onion, and he loves that song and the band, so he's like, let's go. And I was super satisfied that they end the film with that song. I'm literally getting goosebumps thinking about it. Before we get into major spoilers, we're going to start getting into minor spoilers as we kind of explore the characters a little more in depth. First character we're going to talk about is our boy Benoit Blanc. Something I really appreciated about this film is how they reveal his kind of domestic partnership with, another cameo, Hugh Grant. This I thought was really like classily done because they didn't like do anything to like perturb super conservative audiences or anything, if you know what I'm saying. But they did it in such a obvious and casual way that it's like a kind of Sherlock Holmes and Watson. And it's like, maybe they're doinking, maybe they're boinking, who knows, like, doesn't matter, like, probably they are. It's all good, we love them. That kind of idea of like the queerness of Benoit Blanc is like, because he's so stylish, it's like, it kind of like played into his character. And yeah, like Johnson said, it kind of made sense to the point when I started writing the second one. It didn't feel like a big decision. When it was time to get a glimpse of his home life, it felt very natural. And I thought that was really well shown. It was very tasteful, And it's a PG-13 movie, so obviously they're not doing anything crazy. It was just nicely casual, and it was nice to see a queer domestic partnership that is just like not a big deal and not like the whole crux of the movie. It just happens to be a thing. That was nice. Refreshing. Benoit Blanc, cool. And then, of course, let's talk a little bit about the other characters, and we're going to start to get into spoiler territory. Edward Norton is, of course, hilarious as Miles Braun, and his kind of fake charisma and this, like, pseudo-intelligence is just hilarious to watch. And there's so many little things, too, of how he's always playing guitar but never playing an original song, and the whole idea kind of being that this guy has never had an original thought in his whole life, right? And we're starting to really tiptoe into spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen Knives Out, I would really recommend watching it before you complete this, because we're really going to get into spoiler territory. Yeah, that's it. We're going to spoiler zone. So if you haven't seen it, come back. If you haven't seen it, come back. It's such a great movie. It's worth watching multiple times. I guess you could find out the spoilers and maybe it wouldn't ruin it for you, but it's so thrilling to find out while you're watching it. Just go and then come back. I'm in the middle of Glass Onion. It's amazing. This is like the end, super spoilers, doing the flashbacks. And the fact that he was Tom Cruise from Magnolia, I can't even. This movie's amazing. Oh my God, now he's Steve Jobs. This movie's amazing. Back on the boat. Oh my God. She got shot with the book. I love it. Classic. And the hot sauce, come on. It's just like, it's bringing me back to the Brothers Bloom. I love this. I love when they're acting. I love when they're acting in the movie. It's great. Oh, let's go, Janelle. Come on, Janelle. She's breaking glass. Oh my God, I'm loving it. Let's go, Janelle. Come on. Also, I love Peg, and Madeline Klein is underutilized. Wasn't sure about the burnout guy, but now that he was just chilling with Blanc and said fucking A like the dude, I'm in. Love it. Fucking closed it with the Beatles song. Come on, dropping the stacks. We love it. Wow. I would record through, but the copyright strike, but fuck. Wow. I'm watching this for a second time, literally back to back, and I'm already like, like out loud, like going like, wow, because just the whole thing with the box, and it's like you never saw, they literally, it's this, he's so fucking good. It's the same shit he says where it's like, there's someone here for you with a box. We never see him open the box, but we think we do because, oh my God, I love it. It's perfect storytelling. Wow, just, so detailed. And for the record, when I'm talking over it, I'm literally rewinding to watch it again because I'm not missing a damn thing. It's amazing how fucking The little things like he's only playing covers on guitar. He's got no original ideas. Edward Norton's character. And then when he fucking sees Janelle Monáe, he's literally like seeing a ghost because he's like, she's dead. Like, I thought I killed you. Like, oh my god. Phil Gas, come on. Little details too, like Peg's bracelet isn't working because it's like fucked up. Come on, this song's so good. Rewatch is amazing. And then of course Glass Onion, Past, Present, and Future. You're watching it again. It's Past, Present, Future. Fuck off, Ryan. Oh my god, it's full of stars.
You know, AK and Flea get all the credit, but Frusciante really is the heart of the Chili Peppers. Hey, Blanc.
You know, it's designed to be hard. This will take the whole weekend.
You know, this is truly delightful. Oh, have we started already?
Well, the murder hasn't happened.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, why not? As Watson said to Holmes...
It was Birdie who planted a remote device on a crossbow in revenge for you stealing her signature Ren diamond.
Okay, now that it's just us here who have seen Glass Onion, let's talk about the good stuff. Obviously, we're starting with characters. Let's go back to Daniel Craig. The layers of his performance, oh my god, it's full of stars. Like, we as the audience almost are like, this guy's so goofy, but it's like, he knows how he comes off to other people. It's like the same thing as the Hercule Poirot with his mustache. He's a goofy guy, but that's what makes him a good investigator, is people underestimate him, and it allows him to gather all this information. Tremendous performance. As the plot reveals the layers of the performance too, that on a rewatch, you get these double meanings and these... it's just so good. It has so much extra depth when you rewatch it because you kind of understand this deeper plot that's happening. As far as the deeper plot, let's talk about kind of the real star of the show, Janelle Monáe. Janelle Monáe was really good in this. I was a little hesitant about her southern accent when I first heard it, and then I was like, whatever, I'm down. Because her like screen presence and attitude and her wardrobe, she was just phenomenal in this. And of course, the big twist is that she's not just Andy Brand, she's also Helen Brand, her twin sister, who hired Benoit Blanc. And it sounds like a crazy soap opera when you see it. And I almost was like, oh, come on, a twin? But the way they set things up so perfectly, like with the box, in the beginning, there's a mirror almost with the box and the glass. Benoit is talking about how Miles, he passes the glass to Dave Bautista directly. But he said that he must have picked up his glass. And then it shows him picking up the glass. And it's like, he said that, so that's what we must remember. Like, we're remembering it because that's what he said. But the reality is he passed him the glass. He's like, what did we really see? So think back, what did we really see? I was thinking about that in the beginning when there's the hilarious cameos on Zoom and he's playing like Among Us. And then Philip says, which is Hugh Grant's character, he says, there's someone here with a box. We never see the box. We never see that it's broken. We never see Helen. The same way we imagine the mix-up of the glasses and Dave Bautista accidentally drinking poison or something as opposed to being poisoned, specifically with his food allergy. The details, it's amazing. The same thing is happening with the box where we almost imagine him solving the box because we know he gets the box. Then when he's talking to Ed Norton, he's like, yeah, I received this box with some simple children's puzzles. And it's so funny. He does it so nonchalant. And of course, that's all part of the act. And the way he kind of is like, I am mortified. Like, I love when the characters are acting, when there's levels to it. And we'll get to that later too, when we get to another one of those moments that I was like, this is like a soap opera, but I love it. Yeah, great performances and kind of having that rich bitch character that they played when they were kids and being able to kind of like put on that character. I was all down. The way she said it, she's like, who you fooling? Not me. Like, I was so buying it. That I didn't mind that maybe it was a little far-fetched or something. It's like, it's a movie. That's what we do in movies. So, surprised me. Catherine Hahn was hilarious. There's a whole thing, if we're start to talk about wardrobe and stuff as well, like, she was all beige and stuff, and everybody else has really, like, awesome wardrobe and stuff, and she was, like, stoked to be in Knives Out, and she was like, ooh, I can't wait to see what I'm wearing. She's walking by, like, Kate Hudson's racks, and, like, and Janelle Monáe's Rex, and then she sees her like beige, and she's like, oh, okay. That was fun to me. And there's so many little isms to her character. There's a video of Ryan Johnson breaking down when everybody arrives at the dock, and in the background she's like sniffing her pits and like checking. She's doing a quick pit check. When she's talking, her mask starts slipping, then she notices and pulls it up because she like has to be a governor and things. There's a lot of little subtle like character moments. And yeah, let's just talk about the dock for a second. Obviously, this has kind of been covered, but if you haven't heard or you didn't think about it, the different masks in the dock kind of show a lot about the characters where like Lionel, he's the scientist, he's got the proper N95 mask. Catherine Hahn has like the cloth mask and it's like slipping, but then she's like, it's like almost more performative. Benoit has like the polka dot like matching dapper mask. Of course, Birdie J just has this lace mask that is like functionally doing nothing, but it's like, I'm wearing a mask, but it's like doing nothing. Of course, Dave Bautista and Madeline Klein roll up with no masks. There was a really funny little thing. I love little props and things that aren't a big deal, like how Ethan Hawke had this little cameo with this like spray gun that was basically almost like a COVID vaccine or something, and the way they handled it too, where Benoit's like, oh, what is that? Like he asked him multiple times, like, what is that? And he's just like, you're good. Like it's very like that weird mafia rich people kind of vibe. I love that. I love that in the movie. I recently watched Violent Night. David Harbour's character is like this Santa, and there's the Christmas magic, and he's like, yeah, I don't really know how it works. Good. That's all we need. We don't need to know how it works. We don't need 20 minutes of exposition of this magic. We just need to know it's Christmas magic. I don't know how it works. There's presents, and then whatever, Same thing in here. It's kind of like that perfect hand waving of you're good. Like it's some spray. Now you don't need the mask, and we can have the movie without COVID masks. Great. I'm down. Doopity-doo-doo-doo-doo. And let's see, I kind of talked about those cameos already. Dun. Oh yeah, let's talk about Leslie Odom Jr. So Leslie Odom Jr. was a little underused, but upon rewatch, his character was kind of like one of the most crucial, like he has one of the most crucial moments in the first maybe 5 minutes of the film that on rewatch you're like, oh, his character is very vital to the whole plot of the clear kind of thing being a thing. He was an important character, but I feel like he could have, I've heard some people say he could have had a little more to do, and I kind of agree with that. Yeah, moving on to Kate Hudson. Birdie J, she was fantastic. She was like a standout of the cast because she was really able to play this kind of like out of touch, like kind of desperate, almost like a younger Norma Desmond kind of vibe. Really interesting character, and this idea that she only understands like every third word and thinks sweatshops are where they make sweatpants and is just so destructively ignorant. It was comical. And that's like how you do satire, right? So we're here for it. Dave Bautista was an interesting character. Clearly, it's a little bit of Alex Jones, a little bit of Joe Rogan, a little bit of Tucker Carlson or Andrew Tate or whatever, you name it. But I like how they made it kind of his own character. He's obviously a amalgamation of these internet personalities with the tattoos, but living with his mom and all these things, and the kind of rhino boner pill controversy set him as this kind of character, and the desperation kind of clinging to the golden tit of Miles Braun, as they say, is really one thing that defines his character as his own outside of the real life comparisons. Jessica Henwick, I said before, as Peg, I think she was so funny. When I saw Matrix, I didn't love it. I liked like the message and stuff, but I didn't love the new Matrix. But Jessica Henwick was so, I was like, it's worth it to find out who Jessica Henwick is, because she has just a magnetic screen presence, and she had a small part, but her little nervous things, and she's putting in 100% in the background, and it gives it, again, rewatch value like crazy, because she is just so funny. And yeah, she needs to lead something. She's great. And same with Madeline Klein. She has another like magnetic screen presence, and she really didn't have too much to do. She had a couple great moments with a harpoon gun and things like that, but I heard someone talking about that scene where she's talking to Janelle Monáe. It's kind of like an exposition dump. I was just talking to my brother about Brothers Bloom. As much as we love that film, there was one Achilles heel he pointed out to me, which is that it may not pass the Bechdel test. And I was like, oh no, that's not good. This movie, I think, would pass the Bechdel test. There's plenty of female characters who talk about things that aren't men. But at the same time, it did make me think of Madeline Klein and how maybe her character could have had a little more to do. And Jessica Henwick as well. I was kind of saying this a little bit before. I feel like Jessica Henwick and Madeline Klein, or Peg and Whiskey, could have had some kind of like scheme or some kind of plan or some kind of thing to take a bit more action, maybe even team up with Benoit and Andy. AKA Helen, but spoilers. They're like the assistants. They're like the overlooked, almost invisible people in this small circle. So I feel like they really could have been a lot more vital than they were as far as maybe contributing information or helping out Benoit and Helen. But alas, we only got time for so much. It is what it is. Oh yeah, and Jackie Hoffman as Duke's mom. She was really funny. She was just in something else I watched recently too, and she's got such a energy. She's like relentless, and so you put her in the right thing and she rips it up. And then of course we have Dallas Roberts as Devin DeBella. Not a huge part, but played Catherine Hahn's husband, and he was funny. He was like calling her, she was ignoring him. Good stuff. As far as like costumes too, there was a couple things I wanted to talk about specifically. Edward Norton had a couple hilarious moments that really highlighted how unoriginal Miles Braun is. Namely, the flashback in The Glass Onion where he is literally dressed like Tom Cruise from Magnolia. That was so funny, and apparently that was Edward Norton's idea. He just showed up dressed like that, and Rian Johnson thought it was hilarious, and he's like, you don't think it's like too obvious? And he's like, nah. The costume designer was down, and the whole kind of MO is Miles Braun has never had an original thought in his whole life, and so he would just steal Tom Cruise's look from Magnolia because he's like, oh, that looks good, let me wear that. And same with Steve Jobs when you see him later when he's arguing with Andy and he's literally just dressed like Steve Jobs. I laughed. There's so many things like that, things that could not matter, like costume. He could be wearing a suit, but the fact that they dressed him like Steve Jobs, what a funny movie. And then of course Benoit Blanc had some swag and looks. He had a little bit of what's his name, that French guy, son of a Jacques Tati. Let's talk about Jacques Tati for a second. There's one movie I still haven't watched yet that's been on my watch list for a while called Monsieur Hulot's Holiday, something like that. Monsieur Hulot's Holiday. Les Vacances de Monsieur Hulot. I don't know if I pronounced that right. He like goes to a beachside hotel, and it's almost like a French Mr. Bean kind of vibe, where he like causes havoc and is almost like Buster Keaton-y slapsticky guy. What I thought was so funny was that one scene in the garden, and this really, even though I haven't seen a lot of Jacques Tati, I've seen like clips and stuff, and that moment was so Jacques Tati when he's in the garden and he smokes, and it's like, this is not an non-smoking garden, and then he throws it in the water and he goes, please keep our water clean. That got me so good, and the way it's shot, it got me so good. It was really like that Jacques Tati kind of vibe. And that's another thing I've kind of talked about a little bit, but the humor in this movie was so great. So strong. It was a lot funnier than the first Knives Out, even though the first Knives Out was pretty dang funny. They really upped the humor and upped the mystery. It's like they didn't sacrifice the mystery for the humor, which was something I was talking about with Last Jedi, sacrificing stuff for comedy. I felt like all the comedy was strengthening the story and the characters and the drama and stuff. So I thought that was really funny and well done. It also kind of like kept our guard down so that we can be surprised. Once you laugh, you kind of have this catharsis and your guard is down, and then when you're hit with a surprise after, you're more accepting of it, I think, rather than like your guard is up and you're like, I don't believe it. Really great movie. That kind of covers the characters. That's most of what I want to say about the costuming, as far as like the references specifically. Oh yeah, there's the whole thing with the Mona Lisa, the pineapple juice is set up perfectly, and how we don't need any poison. Things are a lot easier than we think. And the first time we're kind of looking at Lionel and Claire, Leslie Odom Jr. and Katherine Hahn, and we're really thinking that like something's up with them, but then when we find out it's all to do with the Clear thing, then it kind of makes sense on rewatch why they're kind of acting sketchy together, because they're in it together in a way, not like they're plotting to kill Miles. Yeah, really cool movie. Rian Johnson's done it again. Is this his finest work? Is this his Mona Lisa? I don't know. Maybe. I'm sure. I hope the next one can only be better. But this was just really, really a fun, great time. It's like a perfect synthesis of art and entertainment. Remarkably entertaining and really artistically done. And it kind of shines a light on the important things, right? A good microcosm for it is like the intro, where you have these characters and they're terrible people, but they're funny and they have this chemistry and they're trying to solve this box puzzle and we're getting all excited about it. Then on the rewatch, and once you know Miles didn't design these boxes, he hired someone to design the boxes and all this stuff, it all seems so stupid. Like a stupid waste of time. And you almost want to be like Helen and just bang, 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 crack it open. And it's like when I first watched it, I was like, why did she hit it with the hammer? Like, she's like, that's so not fun. And then on the second watch, I was like, I would have hit it with like, I don't know. You know what I mean? The way that the context of the information shifts your perspective, even though it's the same film, it perfectly matches the name, Glass Onion, where everything's very clear, but the center is right there the whole time. The look Edward Norton has when he sees Andy, that's because, I mean, we're in spoiler town. He thought he killed her. And he's literally like seeing a ghost. He looks like he's gonna cry. That shot, when I first saw it, I was like, why is he like so surprised to see her? But I didn't think too much of it. And then the second time I was like, oh my God, he's like seeing a ghost. Oh, so good. What a masterpiece. So yeah, I really liked it. Couple things I didn't like, but generally I thought it was really good. I loved the lighting, especially I was on second watch the scene with the flashlights. I was like, wow, the lighting's amazing. The little hot sauce thing. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about this. So when Helen gets shot in the book and she's okay, I love that because you know what? That bullet in the book brought me back to like Brothers Bloom and storytelling. It's like you don't believe it, but she had the book. They set up that she's got the diary. It was so set up. I loved it. I was so down, and I didn't want her to die. So I was like, please, please, don't kill her. And then with the hot sauce, again, perfectly set up. And then they have that little extra ticking time bomb joke where we're watching it the second time. We're just seeing the hot sauce drip down her lip. We're like, oh shit, love it, class act. And then their reaction when they see her again. Oh my God, so funny. There is something though. One little part of the mystery that I didn't understand. And that was when Benoit looks at the picture that has the napkin and it has the note behind it, he looks back with this seriousness as if he just realized something. And when I was rewatching it, I was like, oh, did he realize that that red behind there was the envelope? Because Andy doesn't realize that till way later. But maybe he realized that he rewrote the napkin, or maybe it was that the napkin was still the one in his handwriting, or that he would display it like that. There was some sort of shift in his complexion, which almost makes me want to watch it again. I don't know. I really liked it. I guess that's it. I'm kind of rambling now. I don't know how much more I have to say. Oh yeah, the music was awesome. There was a lot of really great Bowie drops, and the way they paced the song Star and the ending of that with Dave Bautista's death and how he did a total wrestling move, boom, boom, destroying the glass. I was like, if you had anyone else fall on that table, I don't know if they could do that boom, boom, and like shatter it twice. That was awesome. I don't know if maybe it was pneumatic or whatever, but because he's so huge, you're like, wow, he wrecked that table. And the way it kind of transitioned from that really dramatic ending of the song, like breakdown, and then it goes into the da-da-da-da, like kind of mystery music. I thought that was really cool, really good. Yeah, Nathan Johnson killed it. Everybody killed it. The editing was awesome. The lighting was awesome. It was shot super awesome. There's little things too, close-ups moving to wides and like really great moving camera and like kind of obvious camera things. Oh yeah, of course the split screen in the beginning. Yeah, there's so many like obvious things that are just so enjoyable. It really felt like what a movie should be. Fun cinematic time, but it's like you still learn something and you still walk away like you want to see it again or something. It hit that dopamine receptor for me where I was like, again, it really just did it for me. So that's just about the best thing I can say. Watch this movie. I loved it. It really hit the spot for me. And if it doesn't hit the spot for you, then I don't know what to tell you. Tough. If you didn't like this movie, I'm really curious why. Please leave a comment and I'd be curious to see what you think. Any other thoughts in general? You like it? You hate it? You watched it? You haven't watched it? Have you seen any other Knives Out movies? What'd you think of the accents? I love me some accents. What'd you think of the cameos? You excited for the next one? There's gonna be another sequel, I think. Keep rolling. I'm stoked. I'll be there. You'll be there. We'll be here. mykeadelic channel. Tons of other videos, music, movies, reviews, whatever. Good stuff. Check it out. Right here on the bloody mykeadelic channel. If you don't know, now you know, brother. Ta-ta. Love ya. Peace out. I fucking love ya.
I fucking love ya!
Misfits.
So got a strawberry field. You know that there's nothing is real. But here's another place you can go, where everything flows. Walking through the bed back to rails to see how the other half lives. Walking through a glass on your told you about